Alright, this is like a practice run of my RAG demo. Also in case my computer breaks or it goes wrong tomorrow. This demo is for retrieval augmented generation. So the only data you need to do RAG is some content, which is any text. Those are going to be the chunks of your documents. I just call this table documents. So every chunk is considered its own document here. And the embedding. So the embedding will come from your large language model or some other model. I'm using sentence transformers, which has a vector length of 384. And there's a lot of flexibility here. So between your chunk size and the embeddings you use and how you process your chunks into embedding, you have a lot of variables you can tweak to change how effective your search is. So once you have a place to put your data, you need to ingest some data. And that's what this thing is doing right now. In general, what you want to do is have some kind of format that you can reliably get your data and chop it up into little bits. So what I'm doing is taking some books that were converted from PDF to Markdown. That's a whole other model, not part of this pipeline. And having found those Markdown documents, I'm splitting them up into their chunks. The chunks are getting embedded, and I'm doing kind of a semantic thing, which I'm going to explain right now. So let's say you have a document, like this is a generic test document. So when you have a PDF file, it's going to have headings or chapters or whatever kind of section in it. Now, the most common way to do retrieval augmented generation with chunking is just by picking a certain number of letters or a certain number of words. So just like this, maybe if you want to be like slightly semantic about it, you can split on punctuation or paragraph breaks. But what that gets you is the chance to split a paragraph in half or have other issues with the chunk of document does not fully contain an idea, and therefore the embedding doesn't really line up with the facts you want to pull out of that document. It makes it hard to search for that document chunk. So what I'm doing is a little bit less about chunks and a little bit more about semantics. So if we have our document here, let me just doodle a little. So we would have example doc. And what I see here is a H1. So that'll be this heading here. How to get fit. And this has two subheadings here. So let's take those. So inside of these headings, we could have either sentences or paragraphs or a little bit of both. So instead of figuring it out, the way my algorithm actually does it right now is it tries to capture one paragraph at a time, and if that paragraph is too long, it will split it into sentences. So I think this paragraph might end up as two different document chunks. But because they're under the same heading, they would just be numbered 1, 2, 3, kind of. And similar down here. Other heading has other text. So in my document table, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different documents that this would be split into. So obviously inside of a heading, the text is going to come from the paragraph of the text. But what should the content be for a heading itself, which it has a title, but it doesn't really have text that's worth searching on? Here, I think, is a little bit of a trick to semantic retrieval augmented generation. The diet heading would take all of the text of its child documents, and it will ask the large language model to produce a summary of that. So that summary becomes the content of the node that contains all those children, and that text is what gets embedded. And if that embedding is found as a match to some search, it's a generally good sign that the entire content of that section will have the same thing going on. So yeah, all three of those documents would be summarized into one document, which is for the entire heading. Likewise for this guy over here, he'll get a summary content, and the same thing happens the next level up, which is this entire heading will get summarized from its children, which is the diet and exercise headings. So I've taken a summary of two summaries and produced a next level up summary. And I can't remember if this one might just be considered like a file document and doesn't have any content on it. But I still structure it this way because sometimes I want to find a file name and filter on the tree to search a specific file for results. So this is what that code looks like. I'm not going to go into the details of the system that splits apart Markdown into a tree. But I'm just taking a folder, I'm opening every subfolder there, and every subfolder is a new document, and every Markdown file inside of that is a new document. And the files that are found will be opened up, their text will be read, and if they have Markdown content, they will be split into chunks, and all those chunks will be, as a tree, summarized from their leaves up to the roots. And does it work super well? I think it's really promising. The summaries sometimes are not great, but I'm also using small summarizing models that have a lot of degrees of freedom I haven't explored yet. So that's the retrieval augmented generation section, and I'll get some other stuff cooking next.